and the fact that he had like two careers. Because remember, initially he was like I say, it's like one of the most feared fighters in the world, or
Hmm.
ever, for that matter. And then after a while, he came back. He was so jolly, and that sort of personality that he took on with the Foreman grill and the more positive George. What's your recollection of George? When you were coming up.
Well, it's kind of in two parts because growing up, I remember seeing him when I first checked him out. 'Cause again, I was young. He was commentating for plenty of the fights in the late '80s. Then he started going back to fighting, and he had some bangers with I know one was with um Evander Holyfield, and I remember seeing one with Dwight Muhammad, Dwight Kwawi Muhammad, and fearsome guy. Then I started going back to they would play the Rumble in the Jungle, and then I started really going back. And the one thing about him is and I say this phrase often, but sometimes I think George Foreman do kind of suffer from like revisionist history, where when you look at the Ali fight, right? Um, Ali wasn't favored to win that fight. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes Ali so great is that Foreman was, favored to pretty much beat him, and Ali pretty much showed his greatness. And because of that, sometimes George Foreman sometimes he gets underrated because a casual fan is gonna be like, that's that guy that got knocked out by Muhammad Ali. But when you really look at his career and what he could do, this dude was a gold medalist, man. Like gold medalist. That's not something that's, you know, easy. You know what I'm saying? You got to have some type of skill or some type of talent to get a gold medal. So even seeing him reinvent himself and be successful, like with the George Foreman grill and all that, showing his chops, he showed that you could be successful after your boxing career. And even in his older age, he wasn't the stereotypical, punch drunk boxer or broke boxer. He made some smart decisions and had smart people around him.
Hmm. Oh, before we move forward, and I just want to touch on a couple things that you mentioned. We got our good brother, the legend Ty Finney, is in the
Yes,
building.
yes. What's up?
Ty, what's good, my good brother?
It's good, man. Salute to you guys, man. Glad to be on, man.
Man, again, we always appreciate you. There's much love and respect there. We just talking about the movie Big George. You have any plans on going to check that one out?
Yeah, for sure, man. I plan to go see it Saturday. I know, man. Don't get me wrong. The actor don't look nothing like him. But other than that, man, I'm expecting to be a good movie. But yeah, the actor don't look nothing like him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was just talking. We were talking a little bit about what our recollection was about Big George, and like I said, it was Big George, one of the top heavyweights of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like Shelton. Shout out to Shelton in the chat. He said that he was a monster. He definitely was, man. I think it was a lot of fighters that I'm talking about the old George Foreman that really didn't necessarily want to have to deal with him, like Mike Tyson. I'm not sure if Mike Tyson wants to have to
Right.
put up with Big George Foreman, even at that advanced age. And then early on, it's a couple fighters who I think he may have had trouble with. One in particular is Larry Holmes. Like that fight, they just missed each other because he left, and then Larry Holmes was ascending, and then when Larry Holmes was kind of like on the way out, then Big George was making his comeback. You know what I mean? So that was interesting. But just the way Larry Holmes fought, being able to stay there in the pocket, being able to box, he may have given George, some trouble. But George always had that power, man. I don't want to spend too much on this topic. I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts, about Big George, and then also where you're going to go check that boxing movie out. Also in the chat, we got a couple other people. Again, shout out to Shelton. Shelton always supporting. You got Sunshine McCowan. She says hand pink waving. Okay, all right. We're waving back at you. Sheldon, I see up there you talking about Tiafimo. That's going to be one of the topics that we're going to discuss today. And then Sunshine is shouting out Ty, So that's what's up. All right, so now this is how we're going to do it, Ty and Vale. We got one prediction. By the time this comes out, we putting this on our for our podcast, and it comes out on all streaming platforms. But we also doing this live because we do a chop it up Thursday session when we have that opportunity to get together. So one thing we want to go ahead and discuss is the upcoming fight that's going to be not this week, but the week after. You got Canelo Alvarez. He's going to be facing good old John Ryder, man. What are you guys, predictions for this fight?
So, Canelo Alvarez, veteran at the, I think he's the young age of, he's probably over 32, 33, just veteran, you know what I'm saying? 58, 2-2, 34 KOs, you know what I'm saying? It's good. I don't even have to talk through the people that he's fought. I mean, it's legendary. It's
legendary. And Phil, we could just go ahead and just talk about the last few bouts that he had.
You know what I'm saying? I know we get a lot of flack for losing to Bivol, but how many people you would pick that's moving up from 168 or even from 160 where he came from that would even have a chance against Bivol? So then you got Caleb Plant. You saw how that even David Benavidez couldn't get Plant out of there, but Canelo was. That shows you how dangerous Canelo is. Even today's version, people kind of underrate him now because they're saying that, well, he's no longer this, and they like to put other folks in that spot. But I think Canelo still, even after the Triple G fight, you know what I'm saying, that's Triple G, you know what I'm saying, he pretty much dominated him, so Canelo is still a real threat. So then you got John Ryder, 32-5, 18 knockouts. He's around the same size as Canelo, 5'9", 72-inch wingspan. So he got a couple inches on Canelo. But he's coming off his victory over Zach Parker. And he been looking pretty decent in his last few fights. Very, he kind of a crew type of a fighter, domestic level. He's pretty much a domestic level British fighter, you know what I'm saying? But one thing he does that I do like that he does is he does fight short, so even when he's fighting taller guys like Callum Smith that he lost against, he kind of squashes down a little bit so he can avoid punches that way. But still, he just comes off, even looking at him, he's very hittable too, and that's dangerous against someone like Canelo, who's going to go to your head, go to your body, and all that. And to have a chance against Canelo Alvarez, even this version, you got to be somebody who knows how to use the ring. You got to be somebody who knows how to move. You got to have some finesse to you, some speed. And those are things that John Ryder doesn't have. So I think that Canelo, because of the last few fights, he's going to try to, shake it off. But I do think he's going to stop John Ryder, because John Ryder is very durable. But I do think that once Canelo starts going to that body, he's going to break John Ryder down. Because John Ryder's not somebody who just get out with one punch. But Canelo's going to get him out of there by going to the body, breaking him down, having him head shots. He's going to get him out of there probably around the 6th round. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, Ty, what's your prediction on that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Canelo by stoppage. I don't look at John Ryder as a serious threat to him. I know he is on a 4-win streak. So, but this is just not a fight that I'm highly interested in. But Canelo, of course, he lost to Bivol. He went out, he jumped up weight classes, and then he just fought Triple G, for the 3rd time. You know what I mean? So Canelo's been in there with the best of them. You know what I mean? So at this point in his career, I don't even care if he fights the best. He's already proved that to us. That he could fight the best. He's fought a lot of top names. So, but for this fight, I'm gonna go for Canelo probably by stoppage. Not sure of the round, but definitely a stoppage.
Yeah, you guys touched on a few things. I put up the comment that Sunshine made. She said that Alvarez by 4th round KO. Sheldon says good fight, but also it's in Jalisco. So since it's in Jalisco, that's going to give him a little bit more of a battery in his back. He's going to be vibing off that crowd. Ryder rarely fights outside of the UK. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to play a factor too. I don't know if they're going to give him some tainted meat or what. You know what I mean? But one thing I do know is that in this one, Canelo's gonna have a field day with old Giant Ryder. Now, again, Giant Ryder's a good fighter, and this is really for most fighters, this is a pretty decent fight. You know what I'm saying? But when you're talking about Canelo, that's a whole different animal. You know what I'm saying? And just the way I've seen Ryder fight previously, he's not that hard to hit. Now, he's gonna be tough. You know what I mean? As maybe the first 2-3 rounds, but once Canelo starts to dig to that body, boom, you know what I mean? He's gonna clip him with something up top. And I've seen Ryder hurt. The best thing to me about Ryder is his ability to like withstand punishment and then have resolve to come back in the end. He's not gonna be able to play that game with Canelo. Canelo, once he started rat-a-tat-tatting him, you know, he's gonna hurt him. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a quick stoppage too, because they want to see Canelo get up out of there with that victory, you know, so they can go ahead and celebrate. What is this, Cinco de Mayo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, they want to party. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get right there, and they're going to be having some, I don't know what's the drink of choice out there as far. I don't know, margarita.
Tequila.
So they're gonna be on that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I said. I think it's like a 5th round TKO victory for Canelo. So I'm somewhere in between Vail and Sunshine McCown. You guys have any other thoughts on that fight? And Ty, you mentioned, you said that it's not really a fight that you're interested in. It's hard now, you know, especially with on the tail end of the Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis fight. You know what I'm saying? You have this fight that's kind of like a stay busy, even though he's ranked and it's like a mandatory. You know what I mean? You just don't want to be fighting on the tail end of one of the biggest fights or the biggest fight this year. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. And on the outside looking in, well, us boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, we know what it is. You know what I'm saying? We understand the difference. Someone on the outside looking in will say, oh man, you know, taking Garcia, man, was a big fight. And look who Canelo fighting. He don't fight nobody, you know what I'm saying? So it's always that comparison is always going to be there. But you know, Canelo is still kind of getting his groove back. This is a stay busy fight for Canelo, you know what I'm saying? But like you said, a stay busy fight for Canelo could be, you know, a great fight for somebody else. That's a testament to what he is.
That's right. So before we go ahead and get off into the news topics, Canelo, see, that's the thing. Like Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia kind of put pressure on the other guys. Like for Canelo to maintain his status, I still think he's the cash cow. You know what I mean? Because if he fights somebody like a big fight, then that's going to do tremendous amounts of numbers. And I think that his low end, if he fights somebody like a Ryder or something like that, that's still going to supersede somebody else who fights a Ryder type of opponent. You know what I'm saying? In the eyes of the public. But he doesn't have that buffer time like he did anymore when you have the Ryan Garcia and Tank fighting each other, and then potentially some of these other fights that people want to see. Who do you think would be in the best interest of Canelo to face next? Do you think it's Bivol or do you think it's Benavidez?
Benavidez, man. He should get in that ring with Benavidez. Bivol, we've seen that fight, even though it'll still be an interesting fight. Just, I'm speaking for myself as a fan. I've seen that fight. I think Canelo can do better, but he's probably not going to win that fight. And I think Benavidez is a more fight where it has more intrigue. Like, man, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Of course, we can predict it, but it's still questions there to how good Benavidez is. You know, so I think that's a better fight in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say Benavidez too. You know, they both, you know, just beat Caleb Plant. You know, of course, Canelo, you know, got the better win. You know, he stopped him, but Plant moved on, you know, with Birdman. So, you know, Birdman, even though he lost to Benavidez, Birdman still, you know, changed up Plant's game. So, but yeah, I think Canelo and Benavidez, you know, that would be an awesome fight. You know, both guys got power, and you know, Canelo don't shy away from no fight. Both guys got power, so I expect it to be a war. But the thing is, has Benavidez been in there with somebody who has the kind of power Canelo has? So, you know, if Canelo will go to war with you, you know, and can Benavidez, you know, take his punches? Can he take his body shots? Like, will he stand in front of Canelo? You know, Benavidez is the guy that walks you down, but is he going to walk Canelo down? You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things, you know, that I question, you know, if Benavidez gets in there, you know, with a warrior like Canelo, but I don't think he's going to walk Canelo down. I think he will trade with him, but I think Canelo will get the best of him.
Yeah, as far as who he should fight next, again, coming off that Tank and Ryan, like the all of the eyes that was on that fight, the buzz that surrounded that fight. My man Manvel, I've never seen. He never texts so much in our group chat. You know what I'm saying? It's like little stuff that he's texting. I'm like, hey, they done riled my boy up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Rob. Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And so Canelo with Benavidez, you got to strike when the iron's hot. Like sometimes these guys they play these fights out too long, then people not really they don't want to see it as much as they did before. People are saying Canelo, you don't want to fight Benavidez. They kind of saying he's scared and this and that. So play into it. You know what I'm saying? This is the perfect opportunity. As far as how it will play out, I'm similar to you, Ty. I think that when it's all said and done, the experience, it's kind of like going back to the Ryan and Tank fight. I think that played a major factor in the outcome of that fight. Tank probably will always beat Ryan Garcia. Who knows? But I just know it's certain things that Ryan couldn't have been prepared for because he has just never been in that situation before. You know what I mean? And Tank has more so than he has. Even though I still question Tank's resume, he still has gone and been in situations that Ryan had never been before, like against Pitbull Cruz, when he was kind of hurt, struggling, and he had to overcome a little adversity there. And then even all his fights to me is like he kind of down a little bit and he has to come back. So, and then he always has shown the ability to go a strong 12, if necessary. And Ryan just never had done that before, especially in a fight of that magnitude. So when it comes to Canelo and Benavidez, I think Benavidez might be in a similar situation where when it's all said and done, you've never had anybody that's throwing punches back at you with the ability of Canelo and the experience of Canelo to be able to place the shots where you want to place those shots. You know what I mean? The Canelo, it appears that Benavidez has the better stamina, but that's against who he's been facing. Canelo is smart enough to know now how to buy time when he's tired, to play it off when he's tired, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, he's going to be hitting Benavidez harder than anybody that he's ever faced before. And the last thing is the fact that he's not going to be throwing all those punches at Canelo. He's going to find out that I keep throwing all these punches, I'm leaving myself open. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to have to play a different game. Can he do it? Who knows? But Canelo, go ahead and get that Benavidez smoke. Reclaim your status as the number one cash cow universally. You know what I'm saying? And I think some people are saying Tank, a little bit speckled here and there, but just make sure you go ahead and do that and you'll be all good. I love Canelo, man, because Canelo be out there fighting stiff opposition in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? He's been doing it for over, damn near 10 years now. All right. So I think we did good on that topic, man. Let's go ahead and move forward with this news because we had a lot in the news this week, right? And so a lot of this is going to be dealing with your boy Tank, your Maryland brother. You know what I'm saying, Ty? So let's go ahead and get to it. So first and foremost, man, shout out to both Ryan and Tank. They did 1.2 million buys. You guys have any thoughts on that? You know what I'm saying? As far as the success of the fight, did you expect that fight to do as well as it did?
I actually didn't. I expected around like 850. So they actually won in this, said they got the casual fans really involved in it. They both made a ton of money. They showed that, when two stars fight each other, in boxing, you can still generate that type of money. And in the post Floyd era where only, Canelo Alvarez is, generated that type of money. But it's going to be interesting going forward because the problem, and it's will probably mostly be with Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, because Ryan Garcia actually lost his fight. It's going to be interesting him moving forward and trying to find someone because those numbers is not going to just come from anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like just him searching to get those type of numbers is going to be a challenge, and what they'll have to do to get those numbers, it'll probably be more of a challenge. And that means sometimes you might be less likely to take on high risk, low reward type of fights like a Shakur Stevenson. So, but it's a good number. Definitely exceeded my expectations for him. So, that does play into his future, showing that he is a money maker. He is somebody that the public is actually drawn to. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, for me, I kind of expected it and I didn't. Of course, we got all the streaming and all that, but this is to me. I've said it. To me, this was like one of the biggest fights for 2023. To me, it was a blockbuster fight. These guys had a lot of words. They traded a lot of words in the past. Ryan Garcia. He's got a huge Instagram following, like 10 million followers. And Tank's been on the pay-per-view scale for a long time now. Doing decent numbers. So I kind of expected it. I mean, two guys undefeated, both in their prime, both got explosive power. So this was a fight that a lot of people were definitely looking forward to. So like I said, I kind of knew it was going to do good numbers. And on the other hand, I wasn't sure because, like I said, with all all the streaming and all that. But that's an awesome number. And going forward, I'm sure Tank is going to continue to do huge pay-per-view. And the same thing with Ryan Garcia. Tank couldn't do it without Ryan Garcia. He had to have Ryan Garcia to do those numbers. So I look at both guys as pay-per-view stars, even though Ryan Garcia took a loss. So shout out, both guys. This was a Showtime pay-per-view, the Zone pay-per-view. They brought it together and gave the fans something awesome.
Yeah, man. Shout out to both fellas. That the thing is, what this just shows is when you got competitive fights, you got two guys who have enormous followings, but the bigger thing is I think fans want to see the best fighting the best. You know what I'm saying? In their eyes, like they may not know the other guys as well, but they look at Tank fighting like one of his best fighters that he's fought. You know what I mean? And Ryan Garcia brought certain dangers, to that fight that a lot of other guys Tank faced didn't bring, but also that big following. So they kind of merged together their followings, and you got what it is that we got as far as the pay-per-view numbers. As far as did I expect 1.2 million? I don't know if I expected 1.2 or over a million buys, but I wasn't surprised that it was over a million buys. And the reason is like I said on our podcast previously, is that I was getting text messages from a lot of people who aren't huge boxing fans. Can Tank beat him? Is who you got? You know what I mean? So I was getting several different messages from people who aren't really big boxing fans. And then also in my field of work, I felt like back in the day, Vale, man, I remember like when Roy Jones was out, like I would go places, man, Roy fight tonight. You know what I mean? Everybody trying to get to the TV. It felt like that again. You know what I'm saying? So that it just the questionable thing to me was people going to stream it, or were they going to actually purchase the event? Moving forward, for Tank's sake, hopefully, because I don't know, I wasn't out and about for this one to see if it was being shown at different places. Because you know how me and you, Vale, we met at, speaking of Canelo, that's where we met. We were at Buffalo Wild Wings checking out Canelo fight. You know what I'm saying? So Tank, I think that's going to be the next step moving forward, where he's kind of like a household name and he's being played pretty much everywhere. Like he's must see, for all fan bases and whatnot. But that's a good
they used to play it at the big fights, something. Well, I know Canelo fights, they'll play it at the Hoffman also, So that might be a good one for the future.
Yeah. So it's a couple things I wanted to say, but I know they're part of some of these slides that's on here. Now, this is something right here that kind of got in your craw a little bit. So, what do you fellas think about this? Some people are saying that Haney, obviously, for those who don't know, who's been under a bed or, hiding somewhere, Haney has all of the belts. He's the undisputed champion in that weight class. But there's some people are saying that Haney needs to be impressive, or he needs to have an impressive performance against Loma to earn a shot at Gervonta Tank Davis. What do you guys think about that?
Man, I don't know I don't get it. This dude got 4 of the belts. You know what I'm saying? That's almost disrespectful to say that. Well, if you just beat Loma Chico, who is like a Hall of Famer, you know what I'm saying? If you just beat him close, you don't get a Tank fight, even though you're the 4-belt champion. Matter of fact, Tank Davis should be trying to fight Devin Haney. You know what I'm saying? Try to get them belts off of him, trying to get that scout, man. And that's what irritates me about it. Is like, man, I get it that Tank Davis is the star and Devin Haney isn't really a star like that. I get it. But at the same time, there's boxing pride too, where it's like, I might be a star, but you got the belts, you a scout, I'm gonna go get it. Like when Mike Tyson, right? He was a big star in the 80s. He was a bigger star than Michael Spinks, but he still had to fight Michael Spinks, you know what I'm saying, to get that belt, to become a undisputed champion, you know what I'm saying? So people saying belts don't matter. Belts matter. You know, they can say that now. Even Tank's people can say belts collect dust and all this or have you. But when they talk about his titles, they say he's a 3-way champion, though. They don't let you forget that part, right? You know what I'm saying? So titles matter because that goes in the history books. You know what I'm saying?
And why I know you're about to say something else.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's just a few things I just wanted to chime in on. And one is, obviously, if you've been listening to me, that's the biggest thing that I've always had against Tank is the lack of taking out the top guys. You know what I'm saying? Whoever is supposed to be, if you look at the rankings or who has the belts, the world championships, multiple champions, undisputed champions and things like that, he has not done that. And he hasn't even been close to doing that. So that's the only gripe that I had. It's not necessarily him, because you're only as good as what you can get away with. So if people allow you to go ahead and take this kind of easy route to do it, who am I to say that you shouldn't? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm falling back now, because at this point it was seeming like you're just hating on Tank because he has so many people who are riding out with him. But it's not really necessarily, to me, a traditional approach to how a person elevates themselves to the status of where he is. And again, has some extenuating circumstances that's allowing him to have such status. The Floyd Mayweather connection and being good is key. You know what I'm saying? Like that, the Floyd stamp really is his post office. He got a stamp from Floyd, and then also showcasing the skill. And there's a couple other things that helps him out as well. But it just it's like it's a book back in the day. I'm not sure if you guys familiar. It's called 1984, where they things turned backwards, where they broke this person down so much psychologically. Everything was the opposite of what he actually stood on. Whatever he thought was up was really down. Whatever was this was that. And so that's where we are now. It looks like to me, I don't mind you being a superstar, but don't try to sit up here and tell me somebody who's earned the status that they have to be impressive to fight you. You still haven't gotten to the mountaintop. And really, I wouldn't even have a problem as much if they wouldn't have said this in the past. Remember, they said that they were going up to face Mario Barrios. Why did they face Mario Barrios? What was the purpose of that? Like, why did they select him? It was because he had that belt. Remember, he was supposed to, this is going to make Tank this, 3-something type champ or whatever, the youngest champ to do whatever he is that he was going to do when he faced Mario Barrios. So if you was at that moment, belts meant something. So now belts don't mean anything when you got somebody that's like a challenge that's going to be somebody that's close to a 50-50 fight, somebody that you have familiarity with, they have familiarity with you, and they have success against you too. So that's the problem that I have now. But when it's all said and done, I look at it, just don't play with my emotions. That's all I'm saying. But at the end of the day, the man is making some serious money, you know what I mean? And if people are accepting of the route that you're taking, why change? Yeah, that was all I had. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, man. I mean, Devin Haney, to say that he needs to, even if this fight wasn't happening, he don't have to earn a Tank Davis fight. Tank Davis should be fighting Devin Haney regardless. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What your thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, I'm happy to see this fight. Of course, I'm going for Devin Haney, but I've been saying a lot of talk lately that Loma is going to give him like his toughest test. But respect to both fighters. Devin Haney, he's definitely earned my respect. Flew to Australia. Beat Cambosis. Got the belts. Then he went back to Australia for the rematch and beat him. Even better the second time. So he's definitely got the guts. Since he had the belts, he can call the shots. But he went back to Australia, and, beat him again. But like when they were face to face, like Devin Haney just looked a lot bigger, than Loma. But Loma, of course, we all know that Loma's got, he's got the best footwork. He is a little older, but he's got the best footwork. And the thing with him that I didn't like about him in that Teofimo fight was, of course, he got busy like after the 7th round or so. So he gave half that fight away. But we seen what he did. He definitely turned it up. And if he just started a little earlier, he could have had that fight. But man, this is a fight I'm really interested to see. Of course, Devin Haney, he's got the youth. He's a lot bigger, but of course, and at the same time, Loma, he's got the better footwork. He's been in there for a long time. So it's a toss up this fight, but I'm gonna go with Haney. And one other thing I wanted to add about Ryan Garcia and Tank is that to me, the undercard wasn't that stat. Of course, we did have, Morrell on there. He got an impressive knockout. But to me, that undercard wasn't so great. But the fact that it still did that many pay-per-view buys is a good thing.
Yeah, let me go ahead and get up in the comments real quick. As far as this topic is concerned, Sunshine, she said that Haney is a force to be reckoned with. Her nephew sparred him. He hit my nephew after he hit his knee. My brother said, I don't understand why I said he was teaching Mike Jr. not to let your guard down, period. And then also, Sunshine said that, I guess, Sunshine, you talking to Tank, go ahead and get that belt. Yeah, I can respect that. Yep. And then also Sunshine said that Loma got speed. That's going to be a good fight. You know what I mean? They kind of writing Loma off a little bit, and they saying that he's old. They're trying to make him out to be like 95 years old and stuff, like he's on the tail end of his career like that. I think Loma's Loma. And I think Loma's probably going to be in a better situation now against Devin than he was in his previous fights, and especially the Teofimo fight, because he's coming off injury. And then his last fight, he had a long layoff. He had the situation going on in the Ukraine and all that type of stuff. So he's really focusing in on Devin. Devin has some issues that he has to deal with coming off of Ramadan. Ramadan just ended. How was that impacting the sparring? The weight. Like at the end of the day, like how often and how much is that going to zap you of your energy? You know what I mean? It keeps sinking down or shrinking down to 135. So it's going to be an interesting fight. That's still a guy who had over 400 amateur victories. You know what I'm saying? Like that's still Loma. So don't go in there thinking that it's going to be sweet, because it's not. You know what I'm saying? Vale, you like Devin in that one?
Oh yeah, I think at this point Devin is of course he's the bigger fighter. Loma is kind of Loma is still a threat because he got those angles, and and it's going to ride on his ability to get on the inside and work with Devin. And we've seen Devin is hittable, but Devin Haney do have one of the best jabs in boxing today. And the more he utilizes that, the more that he can win this fight going away. So I think Haney would probably win the decision over Loma, but I can't see a scenario where Loma gets on that inside and works him, because even though I think Ty, you brought this up, even though he lost against Teofimo Lopez, I mean he was going to work on Lopez the second half of that fight, and truth be told, he was winning those rounds more clearly. Those last 4 rounds, he was winning those more clearly than Teofimo won his rounds early on. So it's still a threat there.
Yeah, it's a threat. It's just more so, I think See, Devin can play it. If he plays safe, I don't like Devin. Sometimes he get a little greedy, get a little. Devin wants to please. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes he gets in there and he kind of slugs a little bit more than he necessarily have to because he has to exert more energy in order to hurt the fighter that he's facing, or at least try to take the fighter out. And sometimes he sticks around a little bit too long. I think Loma got a little bit more pop than a lot of people give him credit for too, because he dropped a lot of dudes. You know, the what's my guy name? Linares, you know what I'm saying? Linares dropped him and then he came right back. You know what I'm saying? And then the early days when he was putting that work in on like Walters and dudes like that. I mean, even more recently, one of the guys, I can't remember the guy, was it Rodriguez that he knocked out clean cold like that? So, you know, don't be surprised, man. You know, I ain't saying that he gonna knock him out, but that he can get some respect. You know what I mean? And that Devin's just not gonna walk all over him. And I don't suspect that because that Loman's just too much, or he's too talented. You know what I'm saying? But I still think that at the end of the day, Devin possesses some skills that's gonna give him trouble throughout all 12. And so I expect Devin to get like an 8-4 decision in that one. But hopefully he wins. But more importantly, hopefully Tank Davis is next after this fight is over with, if Devin is successful. Now, also, man, I got a couple more things. We can just chop this up real quick. Do you believe Oscar De La Hoya? So after the fight last week, he didn't show up. And Ty, you sent me a message about this. He's like, what do you think about them not showing up and supporting their fighter? And so his excuse was that he didn't attend the post-fight press conference because he was receiving death threats. Do you buy that? Do you think De La Hoya had had Tank got knocked out or Tank lost and Ryan won? Do you think that regardless of whatever death threats he's saying that he received, do you think that Oscar would have showed up then?
Yeah, he would. Man, De La Hoya just being De La Hoya. It's weird. You know, it's funny. People always talk about rappers being cloned and all this. And I'll be like, man, that's some hogwash. But this guy, I can't believe that this is the same guy that fought Cortez and Pernell Whitaker, Hector Camacho, and Felix Trinidad. I can't believe it, man.
He on that cocaine. That's, you know,
yeah, it got me something, man. I'm like, Oscar, man, it's just, he one of them dudes just need to be quiet, man. Just be quiet. Don't say nothing, man. Don't say nothing. I can't explain De La Hoya. I can't. If I were Bernard Hopkins, I would form my own company. Go with somebody else.
Yeah, to me, it's just a bunch of BS. Not saying it wasn't true, but Oscar De La Hoya was like, he seriously believed in Ryan. You know, at the press conference, he was doing all this talking. Tank's team didn't believe in him. They had all the stipulations in the contract. And as soon as your fighter loses, you ain't nowhere to be found. Like if I was Ryan Garcia, man, I'm dropping him. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be this good promoter looking out for your fighters, but as soon as you lose, you ain't nowhere to be found. And you know, you leaving Ryan Garcia hanging high and dry, man. You leaving him out there by himself, you know what I'm saying? So to me, that was a bad look on De La Hoya's part. So I'm not buying all you receiving death threats. All death threats for what? You aren't the fighter. You just a promoter. You know what I'm saying? This ain't on you. Your fighter lost. So, you know, he lost. Go back to the drawing board, you know, correct the mistakes, you know, view the tape, see what you did wrong. But you disappeared. I'm thinking he probably going to go back in the car and try to get another bag, something to sniff on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the crazy thing, so every event that Oscar De La Hoya has been to in his life, all the fights he's had, all the fights he's promoted, this is the one time that he's worried about a death threat. You know what I'm saying? Like all the time. You don't have security there that could go ahead and keep you safe. That's what they're there for, Oscar. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just pulled this one out of his anus, man. Like he could have came up with something better than that. You know what I'm saying? Like we were there to support Ryan. We just wanted him to be out there in the tank and that sort of thing. I didn't want to take the spotlight off, you know, with me going back and forth with Mayweather and Ellerby. You know what I'm saying? Like that sort of thing. He could have did that. You would have respected that more as opposed to this. This is some old nonsense. But, you know, Oscar he going Oscar. You know what I'm saying? He was a great fighter back in the day. So you think that Ryan should be done with him, Ty?
Yeah, to me, that's just not a good move, man. I can't see myself being a promoter. You know, your fighter just have the biggest fight in his career. And, you know, when it's time to go backstage to talk about the time to, just be with your fighter, talk about the fight, and you ain't nowhere to be found. Like, that's, to me, that's messed up on. If I was Ryan Garcia, man, I would drop him, just go in a different direction.
At least be there to support him. You don't know how it's going to affect that young man after the fight. So just be there if he needs you, like, and then just let him know that you got his back. Like, regardless of this setback, we here with Ryan 100%, so on and so forth. He ain't even do that. What you think, Bill? You think that Ryan should go ahead and bounce?
Yeah, man, dude, De La Hoya just took the cash and just ran, man. They made sure the check clear, and it was like they pretty much, even before the fight, I was thinking, man, they kind of seemed like they just cashing Ryan out, man, just cashing them out, and it shows how they really feel about you. And it's one thing to look at a fighter and say, okay, I think they'll lose these fights, so I'll just cash them out. But you also got to look at it from the standpoint of a human being, that these are people, you know what I'm saying? Especially Ryan, someone who is very public about his mental illnesses and there's things that went on in his personal life, you know what I'm saying? And that can really mess with you. That's that loss is when he needed his support system the most, to say, hey, look, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna get you back, we gonna get some fights lined up for you, and you gonna, I still believe you could be one of the greats. Not showing up at the press conference, basically saying, you know what, man, whatever, man, I'm done with you. It's almost like when trainers do that. I've seen a few trainers do that where the fighter losing, like, man, the dude ain't listening to me. You know what I'm saying? That's not what that fighter needs. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think they worse than I am. You see right now, I'm from Milwaukee. I got the Heat hat on. You know what I'm saying? I stepped over the Bucks and now I'm with the Heat. You understand what I'm saying?
Don't do that.
They do the same thing to Ryan, man. But I think more so than anything else, it's the ego. I think that he didn't want to have to deal with what Ellerby, like them, like rubbing it in on him. But he should be bigger than that. Like, really, you there to support Ryan Garcia. The fight was Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis, and it never really had anything to do with you. And so I think that his ego got in the way, and that's the reason why he didn't show up at the press conference. I don't think it was more so about him, like, not still going with his fighter. He just, all the stuff that he was talking, remember he was saying a little slick stuff. He just didn't want it coming back his direction. But, we'll see what Ryan does from here. But that was a poor excuse, though, Oscar De La Hoya. All right, now let me go ahead and go to the other thing. So y'all saying that the man should leave him. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, man, get away from him, man.
Let me see. I gotta look.
Yeah, Oscar he's the type that needs somebody with him, like when he had Richard Schaefer. You know what I'm saying? When Richard Schaefer was there with him, a lot of that stuff was being filtered and the right decisions were being made. Without Richard Schaefer, Oscar just, you know what I'm saying, he making stars, but he don't know really what to do with him.
Yeah, it's true.
Man. Oh, I didn't know about this one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let the worms out.
Hey, sorry about this, Ty, but I have to go ahead and go with what my man Mario Barrios said. So he confirmed, I want to say it was earlier today, he said even in his fight that he had a rehydration clause for his Tank Davis fight. Does these rehydration clauses, do they take away from Tank's victories?
They could. And you know what? I'm going to give Tank the benefit of the doubt and say that I'm not sure about this until I look into it, research it, because now all of a sudden Mario Barrios is coming out and saying it's a rehydration clause, but none of this was said beforehand. So I'm going to give Tank the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, if that is true, it's kind of like, man, come on, man. It's like, I get it. You if you're a smaller fighter moving up, you want things to be fair. But at the same time, man, if you think these guys are too big, why are you fighting at the weight? You know what I'm saying? It was contracted to at 140 for the Mario Barrios fight. Mario Barrios made 140, 24 hours or 36 hours before fight night. There you go. It should be what it is. Now, and it's for the WBA belt. Now, I know the IBF has a clause in there that it does have a rehydration clause, but this wasn't for an IBF belt. So it's just, I don't know, man. I have to research it, but it wouldn't be good if this keep happening because, you know what I'm saying, Tank himself. I'll ask, did Tank have a rehydration clause for himself when he fought Leo Santa Cruz? You know what I'm saying? Why not?
Yeah. What you think, Ty? Does that tarnish any of these victories if those rehydration clauses were in both fights?
Yeah, I saw the news too when Barrios said that, and I was like, but he just said he kept his mouth shut because at the end of the day he signed the contract. But at the end of the day, like I said, I don't. It's not to me. It's not Tank. It's Al Heyman. You know, Tank has a manager that his manager makes these moves. Tank is just a fighter. You know, he's got a manager above him. You know, so he's gotta do pretty much what his manager wants. You know, even though he's a fighter. You know, but I said this in both fights. Ryan Garcia looked a lot bigger than Tank, and Barrios looked a lot bigger than Tank. Like both of them guys look like giants compared to Tank. But Tank's power is just so different. You know, he put both of them down. You know, body shots. He put both of them down. So like his power is just different. But at the end of the day, man, like I said, these are Al Heyman moves, man. He's the guy that's calling the shots.
Yeah. Oh, Al just go with the flow. I think you were more so on it when you were saying about like the LRBs and even maybe Floyd at that particular time in his career putting those stipulations inside the contract. To me, it does, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If he moves forward and he starts to beat and knock off some of the guys that's in his weight class. Well, even before I get to that, my thing is if he has these weight clauses in these contracts, what's going on, G5? What's good on? Yeah, man. Shout out to G5, man. That was a good build that we had the other day after the fight. You, myself, and Ty. So I appreciate you stopping through. Also, Sunshine got some more to say. She said, "I'd rather have Don King than only in America."
I gotta think about that. I mean, Don King is a better promoter. Like he's more professional than De La Hoya, but at the same time, you might get your money tipped. You still might get screwed by De La Hoya, but you might get screwed. Like if your pay is $3 million with De La Hoya, you might get 1.5 mil. Under Don King, he'll say I'm gonna take $1 million, you're gonna get $2 million, and you're gonna end up with $500K getting charged for towels and all that stuff and your sparring partners and all that. So I don't know, man. It's like a different devil.
You know what the interesting thing about Don King back in the day, I don't know like the more recent guys that he's had, under his umbrella, but back in the day, it was guys who would say, I remember like dudes like Tony Tubbs. He'd be like, Don King, he screwed me out of $1 million, but he ended up with close to $1 million himself. And I'm like, dude, that close to $1 million that you got, you wouldn't have got that with anybody else. So whatever he screwed you out of, he's screwing you out of something you wouldn't have had anyway. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I used to be tripping off with some of the guys that he was promoting. But as far as Tank in this situation, like I say, as opposed to like personally for Tank, why not just fight the dudes that's in your weight class? You know what I'm saying? Like scrap with them and just go ahead and get busy with those dudes. But from a business standpoint, Sunshine makes a good point. That's Al's responsibility if he did do that. Why wouldn't you want to go ahead and help your fighter out as best you possibly can? You know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't that make sense for LRB to do the same thing? Like, I'm trying to get what's in the best interest of my fighter. You know what I mean? From a business standpoint, that's great. You know what I mean? Especially when you had that type of leverage. But
okay. So if he fought Devin Haney with a rehydration clause, that Devin can't weigh more than 143 the day of the fight, would you be cool with that?
I'm not saying that I'm cool with it. What I'm saying is that I understand it. Like I say, from a business standpoint, you know what I mean? Like that's, but because I think we're in a different era now. You know what I'm saying? I think things are a little bit different where that, where that's concerned. You know,
he gonna have one on Devin because he know Devin gonna try to move up. He gonna have one on Devin if he get in the ring with him.
But you seen Devin said that I'm not signing no rehydration clause. Like I'm not going to participate with anything.
You gonna say Devin Haney prices himself out of the fight?
He might. And before we go to the next thing, what do you guys think is Tank's next move? Like if you could predict, especially on the cusp of his huge payday, that he had and numbers that he did, what do you think is next for him moving forward? What would be a good fight for him?
Man, Devin Haney is a good fight for him. You know, Shakur Stevenson is a good fight for him. Frank Martin, who is promoted by PBC, is a good fight for him. But what I think is going to happen, they're going to see how big this fight was on the West Coast, and they're going to be like, you know what they think about this. They're not going to sit down and say, hey, another star would sell. They're going to say, hey, Tank Davis sells against Latino fighters. They're going to go get another Latino fighter. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it worked for Floyd Mayweather, which that wasn't always true because Floyd Mayweather fought a lot of black and slick fighters. I'm not sure if I've seen Tank Davis fight another slick fighter yet. You know what I'm saying? So so the logical choice is Isaac Cruz, part 2. Because Isaac Cruz is already talking like, hey, Ryan Garcia was a Z fighter. If I'm a C fighter, you know what I'm saying? I'm the only one who went the distance. So I do think that is in the cards.
Ty, you got the link to send the G5?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to him now.
Okay.
But, as far as my opinion on that, like I agree with Vel. You know, we got Shakur Stevenson. You know, the winner between Haney and Loma, and I've already said before. I would like to see Gary Russell, but at the same time, we know Russell only fights once a year. He's coming off a loss. He's no longer the champion. So and then I mentioned Tevin Farmer before, but Tevin Farmer doesn't have no power, and like he was supposed to fight a few times, and on the Black Prime Network, but of course that didn't happen, because he was supposed to be on the undercard of the Broner fight, so that didn't happen. But the biggest fights to me is of course Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and like I said, he had a nice pay-per-view, 1.2 million buys, so I'm sure they want to keep going after that bag and, keep doing, these big events. So it's got to be going forward. It's got to be some big names.
And G5, man, we all going to want to know, man. So what did Gary Russell do to mess up that Tank fight? We all want to know that, man. We all want to know.
But you said he was going to share that. Oh, well, we want to put pressure on.
We don't put it offline, but we want to know.
We don't want to put pressure on the brother to reveal his information. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, for this right here, it's I'm understanding like once you get to a certain point, why go back? And you know what I mean? Like as far as trying to please people, because now it could be like Tank at the end of the day, like, man, I got to do this in order to even reach further status. You know what I'm saying? Like if he wants to go in that direction, then now he playing a tricky game there because of the fact that he didn't set that foundation early. Like that's the only thing with me. Like now I would just go ahead and look at the numbers and play it like that. So based on what I was hearing, they were saying like when Pitbull Cruz inside of Las Vegas, they said when he was walking around, he could barely get anywhere because he had that type of had that type of fame in there. Like people was like really approaching him. He couldn't even get anywhere. So if that's the case, that makes sense to go ahead and run it back with Pitbull Cruz because some people say, oh, Pitbull, he went 12 rounds with Tank and all this and that, and Tank hand was hurting. So you get up in there with him again, you clock him upside the head when you got both hands, you put a weight clause on Pitbull too. You know what I'm saying?
And they're gonna say how great Tank is after that one because you can check my track record. I actually predicted Tank to get Isaac Cruz out of there in the first fight in 3 rounds, man. Did that happen?
Oh yeah. Now let me go ahead and do this. Somehow, some way, my presentation mode is bugging a little bit. So sometimes I got to go in and go out. But yeah, that's cool, Tank. Get your money though, brother. All right, and then I think that I think we kind of we talked about that already, so I'm gonna skip past that. Now let me ask you this question. I put this up there because they said that Espinoza, when it comes to this fight, because this really was the Tank and Ryan Garcia fight on steroids before the Tank and Ryan Garcia fight, and it's kind of making both guys look bad. The fact that you had two young fighters, that was able to proverbially cross the street where you got one promotional company matching with the other promotional company. They made the fight pretty quickly once they made the decision to make it. You know what I mean? Both guys agreed to, the terms because they want to fight each other. But there's still a holdup. So Espinoza said Crawford will be DOA, dead on arrival, if no deal is done in the next 2 months. Now, I don't care about that because I'm done like trying to worry about these guys facing each other because it's getting frustrating, or it's been frustrating for years now. My thing is, what do you think that these guys are under pressure now since Ryan and Tank has fought in that mega event that took place last week?
I think they are under pressure, especially considering that even before the fight, before the Tank Ryan fight, it was publicly put out there that they would announce. It was rumored that they would announce that fight at the Ryan Garcia, and that was the best time to do it. And truth be told, about 20 to 30% of me was like, I tuned in just to see if they were gonna do that. I don't think it's DOA. I mean, because if Pacquiao Mayweather wasn't DOA and everything they went through, I mean, even though they were old when they got in the ring, you know what I'm saying? Spence Crawford still has some life for a casual fan, but as a boxing fan, I do think it's just like I'm kind of done with it. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't gonna happen in the next few months, I'm done with it. It's like if it ever gets signed, like let's say it gets signed like in September of this year, I'll be like, I'll tune in and watch it because I'm still intrigued. But at that point, you know what I'm saying, both have been out the ring like a year and a half. They're, Crawford is like 35, 36. It's just they waited this long. It's like, man, come on, man. Just get it on, man. Get it out the way, man. This fight should have happened 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. One thing I want to say, real quick, and shout out to Shane Solis, says that shout out to Tank Davis for making that autograph more valuable by the day. Respect to both for taking the fight. Absolutely. And see, here's the thing. Is that them old days of letting it marinate and all that type of stuff? You got to be done with that type of stuff because we've seen that actually derail a lot of fights that we were clamoring for. The Joshua Wilder fight, you know what I'm saying? Even the Mayweather fight, right? That wasn't the way it was. I remember when Pacquiao, he knocked the mess out of Ricky Hatton. When I saw him do that, I'm like, man, Floyd better be careful. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you want to see the fight because he has such a strong following. And especially after that, I was at a sports bar checking it out, and I saw the crowd just going crazy over this little dude with all that power. But then he ended up getting knocked out. Now, the fight still did good numbers, but it wasn't like right at the moment when both guys were at their apex. To me, I still think Floyd would have won the fight. But who knows? You know what I'm saying? And that's something that, and then the fight really didn't live up to expectations, especially to the Pacquiao fans. For me, I just wanted Floyd to win the fight. But those days, I think they're done because you got a different audience now. Like the audience is more younger, and you got to strike when the iron's hot. Like if it's a buzz surrounding something, you got to jump on it because their attention span is so short. They might move to something else. And that might be something that's like a fad to them. Like, I don't know, nobody even talking about Tank Davis anymore or this person anymore. So you got to jump on it and get that, get the fights made ASAP. You know what I'm saying? But with these guys, this just further makes them look worse and worse. And then I don't know if did y'all hear Stephen A, not Stephen A, but Skip Bayless and Shannon talking about the fight?
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's why it's important for like YouTubers to do their thing who are more knowledgeable on the sport to go ahead and keep doing this sort of thing. But they were saying that too. I think Shannon, he mentioned the fact that those guys, they taking too long to make the fight happen. But as far as him mentioning that, I was happy that he did do that. But some of the things that he did to support his argument, they didn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, these guys are looking bad. To me, it's more so Crawford, but Spencer's not making himself look that good either because he's just waiting so long. He's biding his time, and it's like, dude, like you still waiting on this guy who he's not fighting you. You know what I'm saying? So what are you gonna do? And he's gonna put himself in a worse situation when it is time to fight. I know he's saying that he don't need any tune-ups or anything like that, but at the end of the day, man, this is a really challenging fight, man, and you need to go ahead and keep your shorts sharp And then if he's ready to fight after you fight somebody, then go ahead and still be able to jump into that fight. But I don't know. That's how I feel about that sort of thing. Let me go ahead and go back into these comments. So you got Sunshine. She said Russell wanted too much money for the fight. Maybe G5 can confirm that. And she says his boxers is good, but not worth the amount he was asking for. Okay. And then my main man, Mr. Shane Solid, says, amen. You guys have anything else on this, or should I need to go, or do I need to go to the next topic?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, when I saw that news, that Appanozzi was saying that, the fight wasn't going to be announced. Like, I just had my thoughts. I was like, here we go again. This was last year. The fight didn't happen. Then it gets announced, that the fight's not a done deal. So this is kind of like a Mayweather and Pacquiao situation. That fight should have happened in like 2010. And then, end up happening in 2015. So like 5 years too late, even though it still did like, the biggest pay-per-view numbers, it still happened, years too late. So like this Crawford and Spence thing, man, I'm just not excited about it no more. And plus, Spence was supposed to fight Thurman, and I didn't hear anything about, what happened with that fight. I didn't hear anything like why it got canceled. Or, they were scheduled to fight this month, I believe. And, we didn't hear anything about it, going forward. So it's just like that fight just went out the window.
Yeah, it's kind of like he putting Thurman off, you know what I'm saying? And kind of waiting on this one. It looks like he doesn't want to have to face Thurman. And they keep saying how close this fight is to being made. I don't know. I don't like Spence waiting that long, man. Like that's too long to be waiting around and being inactive. What you say, Vil?
Yeah, it's both guys have been out of the ring. Well, it's even more for Spence because Spence last fight when he fought Ugas was in April. So let's say this fight is getting made for, saying the August or September timeframe. That would mean he's been out of the ring like 15, 16 months. So that's not, yeah. And then you got to go down and make weight and all that, man. It's taking the air out of it because now it's like there's no hype for it, anymore amongst the true boxing fans.
Yeah, just remember, like even when you had Mayweather and Pacquiao, they still was fighting some solid opponents. Like they was fighting some top level Marquez and guys like that. Or you see Mayweather against Cotto and that sort of
Canelo, say it's like Canelo, then Pacquiao fought Tim Bradley, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they were just waiting.
Yeah, they just sitting around, man. This is frustrating. They not really doing this. And on top of that, they not Mayweather and Pacquiao. Like Mayweather and Pacquiao has contingencies of people who support him. So it was like Biggie and Tupac. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, neither are that big.
Yeah. So they bugging, man. I don't know do you think so? If you were this is the last thing I'm gonna ask as far as that topic is concerned. If you were Spence, right? Do you think collecting that last belt is that important in your career to like wait this long for the Crawford fight, or do you think that it has gotten to the point where like, man, I just got to go ahead and go on to bigger and better things? If I want to go to 154, like go ahead and start campaigning up there.
The belt is important, but it's not as important as the actual fight against his contemporary, who is Bud Crawford, and it's going to be hard to find a opponent like that. Let's say he does move up to 154, right? He's not going to fight Jermell Charlo, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if Jermell Charlo vacate the belts, yeah, he can fight, all these other guys, but none of them are like a Bud Crawford, you know what I'm saying? He would have to, I mean, either Spence is going to have to move up weight class to the weight class to find that star, or they're going to have to make a guy like that, because there's who at 154 is even besides Jermell Crawford is even top 15 in pound for pound list. 160, who at 160 is even in the top 15 in the pound for pound list. You see what I'm saying? That this is more a legacy fight, so even if Bud Crawford don't have the belts, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think my man, I'm sorry, Nikki T agrees. Yeah, it's taking way too long. What about you, Ty?
Man, yeah, if they can't get this fight done, then they just need to go on with other options. Like you always mention, Spence is a big guy. He is a big guy. So I can see both of them going. Because Spence was supposed to fight Thurman at 154 anyway. So the Thurman fighting happened, the Crawford fight's not happening. So, and Spence is he's wasting time. Both guys are wasting time. So I can just see them, going up to 154 and just take on some options. And one other thing I want to add, who shout out to Tank, because we don't see the top guys on PBC fighting twice in a span of 3 months. Tank fought Hector Garcia in January, and he just fought Ryan in April. So this is a big name on PBC that just fought in 3 months. So I mean, why aren't these other top guys on PBC doing that? So who shout out to Tank, doing that, man?
Yeah, shout out to Tank.
That's a good point.
Being as popular as, but at the same time, I think that's the reason why he's able to do it. If he wants to do it, he can, because he can make the money. You know what I'm saying? Like them other guys may not be generating that revenue, and they might be having some issues financially. I don't know, because hearing your interview that you had with Kaufman, it sounded like that's what he was saying. As far as with PBC, he was saying how you get a lot of money with PBC, but at the same time, you only fight like once, tops twice a year. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting moving forward. Got anything else before we go to the last few?
Yeah. To top that off, man. Yeah, Kaufman with him saying that, these guys, I believe in my heart, these guys want to fight. I mean, once a year is not enough. You sitting on the shelf. You sitting on the couch all day. Some fighters are staying busy. Staying busy in the gym, and they're not getting a call. They ain't got no fights lined up. So I believe in my heart, these fighters want to fight, man. But like once a year is not enough. So man, something definitely got to change. With these PBC guys just fighting once a year, man. We all want to see our fighters, at least twice a year, at least 3 times a year. It seems like that's happening with all the names on the lower class on PBC, like Vito, those guys, they're fighting every couple of months. But like these top guys in the PBC, man, once a year is not enough, man.
Yeah. Nah, heck no. Especially at the stage that they are. Like if you like one of those big stars or whatever, you might be able to get away with it. But at least, I mean, I think ideally, once you make it to a certain status, like twice a year is good. But you have to already have mastered your craft, and you know what it is that you need to do to be able to only fight 2 years. Some of them guys, they still got little things that they're working on. They kind of green still, where they need more fights in order to get to that next level, or that status that they kind of know all of the nuances of what's going on inside that square circle. Now, before we go to the next topic, man, Sunshine, is it McCowan, Ty?
Yeah.
Sunshine, you ever get Sunshine on your show? Because Sunshine has some really good, strong opinions about these topics right here. If not, you need to, because she's saying that the belt is not crucial in this respect. I totally agree with that point, Sunshine. So now, one of the last few topics that we're going to discuss is that Liam Smith, he's going to rematch Vale's boy, Chris Eubank Jr. You know what I'm saying? Do it
Nah, man.
Out there in Manchester. What do you guys think, man? First off, do you like this matchup for both guys, Liam and as well as Eubank? And what's the likely outcome? What do you think is going to happen? You think it's going to be a repeat?
I never liked this match when it first happened, but I was surprised by Liam Smith, man. He showed that skills pay the bills, and because he did that, he's going to have a mental mental advantage over Chris Eubank Jr. And I think it's going to be up to Eubank to compartmentalize that loss. It's almost going to be like he's going to be in a similar position than that Anthony Joshua is in, to see if he can mentally shake that off. And that's going to be hard. That's a challenge, So that's going to be the intrigue of it. So I still, right now, I don't know what would happen, but I can see Liam Smith putting him out again. But I can also see Chris Eubank Jr. coming back and really coming back strong and getting Liam Smith out of there. It just depends on how you can compartmentalize that loss.
Yeah, it's going to be. See, this is the thing that I don't like. So my main man, Tank, he came out to Chief Keef, but he said everybody loves Sosa. But the song that I like from Chief Keef, this is what I don't like. I don't like this, man. Like this catchway stuff. Because it ain't no way in the hell Liam Smith can beat Chris Eubank Jr. if he's not drained. Only reason he beat him is because he drained. If he was at his natural weight and strong and everything, the punch that he caught him with would have knocked him out. I've seen Eubank Jr. get clocked by some big punchers.
Right. So what weight is this at? Is this at the same catch weight it was at before?
I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is
at 160.
BS. Like the catch weight, like the damage is done now. You know what I'm saying? He done cracked his cranium. So, and how long ago was that? Is he gonna be, back the same, as he was prior to getting knocked out, even though he's putting back on the weight? I don't know. Like you said, it's gonna be a psychological thing that's gonna be, play a factor as well. I don't like catch weights, period, though. Like I'm telling you, like if you have to have a catch weight to fight somebody, you shouldn't be fighting them. You know what I'm saying? Because that's unhealthy. That's something. It's not like if I play you in basketball and I say, man, you got to get down to this weight or I'm not going to play you. And then me, like we know that if you can't beat me, like I'm better than you, but I drain myself down. I'm so thin. And by the time we get to like the end of the game, I'm tired and you just running circles around me. That doesn't mean you better than me. That just means that I'm weak. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't like this stuff. So who's going to win this one? I probably would lean towards Liam Smith because I don't know if Chris Eubank Jr. is that skilled to be able to overcome what he went through in the fight before. Like he's just more so Chris Eubank has he's talented. He has talent, but as far as like the know-how in the ring to be able to overcome something like this, I think it's a little slightly different than him just having talent. You know what I'm saying? And so, but one thing that's going to play out for sure is that he's going to have he's going to put the most into it in order to overcome what happened in their previous fight. Because I know that he was embarrassed. He's one of those type of guys that his ego, like he has a huge ego. And I know that he feels like bad about going around in the UK and people like laughing and this and that and saying this and that about him. So he wants to get him some get back because that was embarrassing to lose to that dude that you see right here, to like an old geezer. You understand? So he'll be, back the best he possibly can, but psychologically will he be all the way back? So I don't know, but I would lean towards Liam Smith, but I just don't like that catchweight stuff. What about you, Ty?
Yeah, going into the first fight, I felt. Well, I'm gonna say this: who's going to be the trainer for Eubank? Is it going to be Roy Jones? Because if it's Roy Jones, man, I hope that's not the case. Not saying that Jones isn't a good trainer or anything. It's just that to me, Eubank was mimicking Roy Jones. He was good with his jab. I believe it was round 3 or round 2, he was good with the jab, so he was putting in some good work. But I think he just got a little overconfident, and also he was mimicking Roy Jones, and I just think that was his downfall in the fight. So if he switched trainer, if he got a new trainer, and hopefully he's coming in here, more prepared. Hopefully he's going to be focused. No more playing, no more mimicking. Like if he goes in there on his A game, then I'm giving him a shot. But if he got Roy Jones in his corner again, man, I don't know. I'm going to go with Smith. But it all depends on, to me, who's his trainer going to be.
Let me ask you this, Ty. Had you seen Eubank fight before that?
No, I'm not really too familiar with Eubank.
Yeah, because he did a lot of that before. Like he was kind of doing little stuff, but it was more so magnified once he got with Roy. You know what I'm saying? You saw the influence. But he's not Roy Jones. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they're trying to do that type of stuff. Let's go ahead and welcome our guy, G5, to the building. G5, what's good?
What's up with y'all?
Man, nothing much. Just talking this boxing, man. We do this thing called Chop It Up Thursday, so we got a few topics that we're discussing. Sure, I don't know if you heard any of it, anything that you want to chime in on that you heard.
I've been listening the whole time. I got like 5 minutes for y'all, and then hopefully if y'all on a little later, I can jump back in. First thing, I'm putting the Gary Russell thing out on camera. Woo! I know y'all was asking for that.
Can you take the comment off?
Hold on, G5. I'm sitting over here. I'm rubbing my hands like birds.
Hey, G5, don't get us beat down in DC, man.
Nah. We good. I got you. Just let me know when y'all ready.
Hey, hold on. Let me go ahead here. Let me put my volume up real quick. All right, I'm
Shane
all
Solis
in.
is right though. Shane Solis is right though. He's right.
Yeah, so basically, with Gary Russell over the past, he's had like one fight a year for the past like 5 years. So I want to kind of get this information before I let y'all know exactly what happened. So with Gary Russell, for the past 5-6 years, Gary Russell has not gotten one fight that he wanted. Like it's bigger than Tank. He didn't get Tank. He didn't get Leo Santa Cruz. He didn't get anybody that was a top name that he wanted over the past 5 years, right?
Mhm.
One fight a year, last 5 years. Number two, he held the WBC belt for all of those years. If you're not fighting, sanctioning bodies are not getting any sanctioning fees.
Right.
So they were pissed off. All right. So this is what happened with Gary Russell and Al. And before I say this, when I say I put 100% of my name on this, 100%, and to back this up, y'all all know YSM Sports Media. I told him what happened first. He didn't believe me. He went to Gary Russell's last fight, and he had somebody very, very, very big in the industry confirm it. And he was like, "How do you know that?" So basically, this is what happened. It was really, really simple though. So Gary Russell was going on for years saying that he wasn't signed with Al Heyman, but he was affiliated with Al Heyman. So they were in the process of trying to, like figure that whole situation out in terms of him like re-signing things like that. They basically got into a phone conversation and Gary Russell got real gangster with Al.
Okay.
Like terms of just we all from the block. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was talking real heavy towards Al. And anybody that's affiliated with Al and knows Al, the second you cross that line, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So after that conversation happened, what he started doing is only giving him one fight a year. And if you notice, excuse me, they were all mandatories.
Right.
So they weren't fights that I was lining up. They were all mandatories. So he was done with him, but he was still trying to get a bag off of him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That
So
makes sense though. As far as I never knew why he was only fighting once a year. I thought that was like his doing. I thought he was just satisfied with his paydays. But not knowing the whole entire situation.
So other word, he might have been okay with his pay, but still not the pay he wanted. But really, Al did him dirty after he went gangster. Though, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And the thing about it, just to add on to it, there's only one other person that really talked trash about Al Heyman in public, and that's Vanez Martirosyan.
What about Broner though?
Broner don't count though. Like Broner don't count though. Like, cause the thing with Broner, the reason why he was able to get away with it is when he did that interview when he was saying he was getting a little bit per day and it was his money and all that. Like all that is facts. All that is facts. So Al couldn't throw him to the side. He really couldn't throw him to the side. You know what I'm saying? So Broner's different. But anybody that's not of Broner status, Vanez Martirosyan is the only other person. Only other person that talked trash about Al Heyman in public. Now you tell me the last time he fought.
I don't know. The last time I remember seeing him was when he was getting smoked by Triple G.
How many years was that?
Yeah, but with Vines, he was okay. You know what I'm saying? I never really followed him like that, but I would just so happen to see his fights. But
Gary Russell went gangster on Al Heyman. He pulled a Broner basically on like on the phone, and Gary Russell he's not Broner. Like, and nobody's ever done that to Al. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, so if you notice, all of the Russell brothers, they get taken care of.
Yeah.
It's just Gary. So let me take you behind the YSM thing, just in case y'all run into him. So I'm talking to YSM, right? I'm talking to him on the phone. This is the night of Gary Russell's last fight. And he'll tell you this, just stamped. So I'm on the phone. It's me, him, somebody else. Somebody else like, yo, I got 2 tickets to the fight. YSM couldn't get credentials at that particular time. So it was in Atlantic City. We in Philly. So YSM, I don't think he had the money like to pay for the tickets for the fight. I said, yo, bro. I said, I got you. Like, I was like, I'll just cash app you the money. Like, just go to the fight. I was like, I don't want no footage or nothing like that. Just go in there and do your thing. Like, I know how you how you do. So cash apped him the money. He goes to the fight. He calls me the next day. He said, bro, that story you told me about Gary Russell, true, bro. And he got and the person that stamped it, y'all was just talking about him earlier in this show. Y'all was just talking about him earlier in this show. So play it back maybe about 20 minutes. Y'all was just talking about this man. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened with Gary Russell. And it's unfortunate because if that doesn't happen, Gary probably gets the Leo fight. Gary probably gets the Tank fight. And Gary's probably in a whole different space right now.
Two things. Can I chime in?
Rock out, bro.
Like Leo, the only thing about Leo, he was making things difficult too, though. Because I remember specifically listening to him. It was either Fight Hype. It was one of those channels where he was saying that they got to give him at least $3 million for the Gary Russell fight. And I'm like, come on, man. Like that's
true. That's true. I'm gonna tell you the difference with that though. When he was talking that talk, right? That was either right before or right when Al Heyman got the rights to Leo Santa Cruz, like legally. So he was talking all that. He was talking all that smack about, $3 million and all of that.
Yeah.
But essentially, Leo Santa Cruz and Gary Russell was under Al Heyman for years. You never even heard negotiations. Think about it. You never heard negotiations. Period. You know what I'm saying? And it's for a reason. If you think about it, all the guys that Gary wanted, he never went into negotiations with any of them. It was just Gary Russell was calling guys out, social media, YouTube, all of that. Legend, am I lying? Have you heard one time Gary Russell was in negotiations with any of these names?
No, I know he wasn't.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? Like, and I challenge anybody to debunk this story because I know it's true. You know what I'm saying? And that's Gary Russell. That's my guy. That's one of my favorite fighters. And I was just like, he should have been a star 3 years ago.
Right.
He should have been a star 3 years ago.
Maybe he get that rematch with Loma that he want before he retired.
He couldn't even get that,
right.
Bro. Even when Floyd was mad at Tank, and Tank said he wasn't ready for Loma, Floyd was bluffing like he was going to throw him up against Loma because he was pissed off at Tank at the time. Gary Russell was in such a bad spot, yo. They didn't even do that to him. They didn't say, yo, we go, since you want to talk crazy, like I'm gonna throw you in a rematch with Loma. They ain't even give him that. They just froze him out.
So G, this was after the Loma fight that they had the conversation.
Yeah, this is way after the Loma fight.
Because the only reason I was asking is because they used to kind of give him the red carpet treatment to a certain degree. Like you knew a lot about Gary Russell on the come up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, Gary Russell was his red carpet was crazy. Like he was the only person to get an 8-round main event on paper on HBO.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. You know what I'm saying? So with Gary Russell, he got the red carpet rolled out for a minute. And the thing is, Gary Russell was one of the first ones under Al that was getting 7 figures or very close to 7 figures per fight. He was up there in that Berto era as far as like how much he was getting per fight. That became part of the problem too. You know what I'm saying? So Gary, man, I'm just like, he should have been a star years ago, man. And I hate that it happened. You know what I'm saying? I hate that it happened, but he had the wrong, he said the wrong things to Al, and Al is that type. He don't forget nothing, bro.
Yeah, he don't play that. And so we got a question here. It says, so from Sheldon. What up, Sheldon? He says, what featherweight was getting M's like Leo at that time?
Oh, I didn't get that at that time because I was about to run off some featherweights that was getting Leo money. But at that time,
Leo was that guy back when Gary was chasing him. Leo was that dude. He was the money guy. like, you know what I'm saying, in that division at that particular time. And that's why Gary wanted that matchup. And to be honest with you, it was a favorable matchup for Gary too, in terms of just in ring. Like it's a favorable matchup for him too. So it's just unfortunate. Like you just don't go there with Al, yo.
Right.
You just don't go there with him.
And the thing is, like for me personally, like I said, I just when he was just fighting in one fight a year, I just thought that's what he wanted to do. But you got to also keep in mind, like on the outside looking in, not knowing that inside information like you do.
Yeah.
I was thinking that it was similar to Rigo. You know how like guys was avoiding Rigo and they didn't want to have to face them.
You know what, bro? I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. They actually like Gary Russell's style. Like they actually like Gary Russell's style. Like Gary Russell's style was, for the most part, you put him up against the right guy, he's gonna give you a fan friendly fight. It was really about who you put him in the ring with. But before that conversation happened with Al, he had all that stuff set up. He was probably gonna get the Leo fight. He was probably gonna get the Tank fight. They had big plans for for Gary Russell. Now, should Al have just turned the other cheek? Yeah, probably so. But that's not him. He's been doing this since the music business.
Mm-hmm.
You cross him one time and you can forget it. You can forget it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the
story. One last thing though. So
that's pretty much they
one
won't admit it.
Yeah, well, last thing, G, I don't think I was going to say was, but to piggyback off your point, yeah, Gary did have a fan-friendly style. I went to go check him out at the MGM, and he stayed in that pocket too. You know what I'm saying? He got that blazing speed,
fast, skill.
Like one of the fastest fighters in the game, and he knows the game. But
I really want to see that fight between him and Tank, man. I really wanted to see that. Still want to see it.
Yeah.
Like you got the Baltimore DC thing going.
I'll turn up. I'll be right up in there, man.
It's an easy fight. To be honest with you, they can make that right now.
Mm-hmm.
They can make that right now.
And then the question, G, was Sunshine. She said, "Yeah, but the fight with Russell and Al, she's saying that it was about the money, and Al told him he wasn't worth what he was asking." Is that?
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
So, Sunshine, they did have a conversation about money. That was two separate conversations, though. So, the conversation that you're talking about, the conversation that they had was his guarantee. His guarantee was 7 figures. His guarantee was $1 million. So, when he was fighting, mandatory, the money they was bringing in wasn't adding up to, his, and that's just his purse. That's not counting his opponent, everybody else. Every time Gary Russell fought, it was like, how much money did we lose tonight? That's how high his guarantee was. So they had a conversation about that, and that conversation didn't go well. That's when Gary was going around saying, "Hey, I'm not signed with Al, but I'm still, like we still do business together, this, that, and the third." And then that other conversation that I'm talking about, that happened after. And then that was kind of the stamp there. But Sunshine, you are correct though. They did have a conversation about money, but it was his guarantee, and that was part of the conversation for him to re-sign with Al, like officially on paper.
Appreciate that clarification, G. And then Shell said Al is petty.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Very petty.
Anybody else got any questions for G while we have him here? I know you said you gotta.
Hey, bro. I actually wanted to touch on something y'all was talking about earlier, bro. If y'all don't mind.
Go ahead.
The Tank rehydration thing.
Mm-hmm.
Expect everybody to be on the rehydration clause. just expect it. You know what I'm saying? And bro, I know we talked about this the last time we was rocking on the show about Tank and who he's gonna fight that's legit, because now we didn't know he did 1.2 at the time we talked last time we was on. He did 1.2. That changes everything, bro. You probably gonna get worse fights than what we've got. To be honest with you, we probably got worse fight. We're gonna get worse fights, bro. We had.
So what do you predict? What do you predict for the next fight for Tank?
I don't know if I have anyone in mind in terms of like actually making a correct prediction. If they are really trying to turn, I'm gonna ask y'all this. Let me see if y'all on the same page with me. If Tank Davis can fight one person, forget how good they are and all that, just off of a name, if they trying to get 700,000 buys or more, who are you putting Tank up against?
Adrian
Nope.
Broner at 140.
Wait.
Huh?
Adrian Broner at 140.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So now it's not a conversation now of just let's put Tank up against the best. They done set the bar now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bar is not necessarily 1.2, but probably for Tank now, anything below 750 is probably not a gun. So
Right.
I'm just gonna paint the picture real quick. Now Tank has fought twice this year, like Legend said. I'm gonna run this scenario out there. People not gonna like it, but I can see Al doing this. You put Tank up, let's just say Tank Broner, right? 140. Broner got a rehydration clause. He hasn't had a good fight in like 5 years. The last time he's looked impressive in a fight was Ashley Theophane. No cap, am I lying? No cap. But Broner's name is so popular, right? So popular that if they
Still,
put
you think it
Tank
still
and
is?
uh-huh.
Yeah, so you still think his name that popular?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Casuals,
That-
everybody
yeah,
know who
the
Adrian
casual, bro. Just I'm gonna paint it real quick, bro. So let's just say we'll be in April right now. So let's just say September D, right? September D, Tank Broner pay-per-view. You got Mayweather and Ellaby all in the press conferences. You got Don King all in the press conferences. You got every hip hop dude, rap dude, hood dude looking at this fight, bro. That fight could possibly. Now Broner might get his ass whooped, but that fight does between seven. That fight does 750 minimum. It does 750 minimum, and you know how much trash talking is going to be going on,
Yeah.
bro. This is what I'm saying, bro. This is what I'm saying, bro. I'm like, we're not gonna get the fight. This 1.2 was the worst case scenario, bro. For our hopes and dreams of him fighting Shakur and Devin and all those guys. This ain't good, bro. We have a better chance of getting a Tank Broner pay-per-view than you are getting a Tank Stevenson or a Tank Devin Haney pay-per-view on PPC.
That's the same argument that I was saying, is that not necessarily argument, that's the point that I was making, is that like now you have to be like business wise, it doesn't make sense because really you just want to go ahead and be able to present something to the public that they want to see with minimum risk, because you want to keep doing this like this.
Exactly.
So it wouldn't make sense just to throw him in there with somebody that he may do 700-800 with, which is a far higher risk. Like, what sense does that
Right. That's true. And they said Barrios had a rehydration clause too. That's why I said he been doing this before because all you got to do is put in a clause like that or put a non-disclosure agreement saying you can't talk about it publicly. That's it. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah, I think Barrios talking
bro,
about,
bro, when I say if they put Tank and Broner like in Vegas, bro, like Vegas ain't gonna be the same. Vegas ain't gonna be the same, bro. Like, that's gonna get crazy. When I say that joint gonna do numbers, that joint gonna do numbers. But the question that nobody's really asking is, where does this put Ryan Garcia in terms of where does his fights go next? Not opponents, but where does his fights go next? Because he was the other half of the equation for this 1.2. Prior to Ryan Garcia, Tank ain't touch over 250. We got to factor that in. Tank ain't touch over 250. Now, let me run this by y'all real quick before I roll. I'm with y'all 100%. If I'm Ryan Garcia, I'm getting away from Oscar De La Hoya. Like I'm hitting the gas. You know what I'm saying? I'm hitting the gas. That was some bullshit that he pulled. Straight. And let me tell you why that's bullshit, yo. Let me tell you why that's bullshit. When Oscar De La Hoya fought Julio Cesar Chavez back during his prime, he was threatened by the Mexican cartel. He still ain't going nowhere.
Right.
So you get threatened at a Tank fight and you gonna roll?
It's a clone.
I'm gonna tell you where he went. He went right to the casino, right to the sports betting area, and he cashed out.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he went. Like straight up. Like that's where he went. But where does Ryan Garcia factor into the pay-per-view thing? Like, yes, he's coming off of a loss, but if he gets another victory or two, do they try to throw him on pay-per-view?
I think Ryan, see, it's a couple things that can happen here. Now, I don't think that they're going to me personally, I see the angle that y'all got going, and it makes sense. Like that'd be a perfect storm of him bringing on Adrian Broner as a potential opponent. But I think what their angle is going to be is they're going to bank off this Hispanic fighter that he's faced with this popularity, this huge popularity. And I think the next direction that they're going to go is something like a Pitbull Cruz or something like that, which is going to bring that Mexican contingency. They're probably going to try to do more of them Cinco de Mayo type Mexican independence type things and make him that.
I agree 100%. Bro, let me throw this at you. If Ryan signs with Al, what you think Al gonna do with Ryan?
May and September.
May and September pay-per-view fights. If Al had Ryan Garcia, he would just be using Broner like a, you know what I'm saying, like a chick on the corner. Sending to Ryan Garcia, then he gonna send him the Tank, and it's gonna be guaranteed numbers. And they only got to pay him a small percentage because he ain't with Al no more.
Mm-hmm.
I already see the play coming. We not gonna get none of the fights we want, bro. We ain't gonna get none of them.
Nah, they gonna go in the cats.
Hell, we gonna have to get on one of them boxing games on PlayStation or something. Put them cats up. What is it? Yeah.
I think it's gonna go, man.
Yeah, man. Like it's crazy, but that's just where we at, man. Like Tank is not gonna take no risk at this point, man. I would say probably the top 7-8 guys that we would like to see Tank go up against. He probably not facing none of them right now.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. Now this might play out. Now you also got to factor in his next steps moving forward, like how it plays out. Now if he doesn't reach those numbers,
right?
Yeah, because fans are finicky too. Like this was a big fight.
Great.
A lot of guys hadn't done this as far as in their prime facing each other with their huge followings, at that stage. So they kind of caught a perfect storm too. So moving forward, it could kind of reverse on them where you start, because Canelo be in that situation too sometimes where he might fight somebody real good, and then after a while, because remember they kept saying, "Oh man, you need to fight Cotto, you need to fight Triple G," and this, then you go ahead and do that. Right. Next thing you know, like once you reach the mountaintop, the fans gonna figure out a way. They're gonna be like, "Oh no, you need to fight him, or you need to fight. We need to boycott." So once it gets to that, then he might start reconsidering, and then we might see some of the fights.
I can see that happening, bro. This next fight is going to be crucial, though. They cannot get this wrong. Right. They cannot get this next fight wrong, even if it's a fight we don't want to see. They cannot.
Take it.
Bro. All the hood dudes gonna be out, bro. I mean, it's gonna be.
The only thing with Broner, Joe G, is they taking a chance because Broner isn't reliable. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know what's gonna happen with Broner.
Well, the thing is, I think with Broner they can't do the rehydration clause. He may not make weight to begin with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so we gotta factor that in. But yo, I'm gonna jump up out of here, yo. I don't know how long y'all gonna be on. I'm probably gonna be going for like a half. If y'all still on here, I'm jumping back. But let me know next time y'all jump on if y'all getting off like real quick. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I can rock out with y'all again, bro.
Man, sounds good, G. Appreciate you divulging.
Hey, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Hey, Gary Russell, don't come for me, bro. But you know, all right, fellas.
All right, now, peace
All
out.
right.
All right, peace.
C5 with the information, with the news. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get on Last Ones at the Bar. Last topic, or last few topics, man, before we go ahead and wrap up, man. Appreciate G5 coming through. It's T.O. And I know that I want to say that was Sheldon earlier. He mentioned T.O. And T.O. says he won't be fighting on ESPN any longer after the Josh Taylor clash. What do you think? Why do you think he's saying that in the first place? And then secondly, do you think that's a good idea for him at this stage of his career?
It could be a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea to publicly say it. you never know. You never know who you're gonna need in the future, man. Like look at the situation with Adrian Broner, right?
Check it before you finish. You may not even know who you might need in this fight. Like you might
right. Cause look at Adrian Broner and where he's at, man. Like Adrian Broner has burned so many bridges. Like he has to be with Don King. So if he was to get back with somebody like, let's say Al Heyman, they gonna pretty much guarantee to screw him over just because of that. Like, hey, I remember what you did. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm curious of the reason why he's saying that. You know, maybe they're not paying him the money that he needs to be. But that's a promoter thing. That's not really an ESPN thing. I'm just curious to the reason why. Maybe he's looking at PBC guys. I don't know. But I don't think it's a great idea to publicly criticize a network. And plus, you have to remember too, when you say something about ESPN, we're not just talking about Top Rank or something like that. Top Rank boxing. We're not even talking about ESPN boxing anymore. We're talking about somebody. If you become a star and you win a fight, SportsCenter might not show your highlights because of that. You know what I'm saying? That's big. See what I'm saying? So I'm curious why.
Yeah, you know, before you hop on Todd, and again, listening to your interview, Todd did an interview with Travis Kaufman. And Travis Kaufman, he mentioned that he was saying like that ESPN, not ESPN, but Top Rank, like they're a good promotional company, but you're just not going to get paid as much with them as you are with PBC and other promotional companies. So it makes sense because once a guy reaches a certain status that, you know, you get the recognition by being on ESPN. They used to be with HBO and places like that. But in order for you to make it to that next stage, a lot of times you have to leave. It makes sense. But his problem is what you said, is that I wouldn't make it public just yet because you still with that promotional company. And Josh Taylor, this fight, you need, you know, you never know what Bob is going to do and how this thing goes as far as the judges are concerned. So if you are already saying that you out, like why in the heck we going to do you any favors if the fight's close? You know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing. Like T.O. sometimes kind of jumps the gun, you know, with some of the things that he says publicly. But that's something that I would be mindful of all fighters. You know what I mean? The fact that, you know, always weigh your options and go with the best offers. But he has a nice following himself. He just has to get himself back in the win column, get him a nice victory over somebody like a Josh Taylor. Because if he does, not only is he going to have his fan base, but he's going to get some of them UK people who's going to start being interested in him as well. And Top Rank is only so much that you're going to be able to make. Al treats his fighters really well. So if he wants to go in that direction, I don't know what Eddie Hearn does over there, but I know DAZN, they give some good paydays too. But that is something to consider. And I think that Top Rank is a good starting point in order to get your name out there, being on those big networks. But at the end of the day, you know, you start trying to, you know, have leverage and being able to take the best deals that you can for what's in the best interest of your career. What say you, Todd?
Yeah, I didn't even know that, you know, T.O. came out and said that, but it kind of brings me to Berlanga. You know, Berlanga was fighting on ESPN, and, you know, now he's with DAZN, and Eddie Hearn, I believe. So, and he was saying that, you know, he wasn't getting them top fights that he wanted. But the thing was, he was looking good against, you know, competition that wasn't so great. But when he stepped up, those knockouts weren't coming like that. And, you know, he didn't look so great. So, but for Theo, yeah, like you said, I wouldn't have said that publicly because, you know, he's got a tough task, you know, with Josh Taylor in front of him. Now, this is going to be in New York City in his backyard. So like his back is against the wall in this one. You know, he got to show up and show out. But yeah, I wouldn't have said that publicly, but we'll see how it plays out. I do think this is a tough fight for him.
Yeah, I'm looking up something real quick. Who do you guys favor in that fight? Who do you like?
Josh Taylor. I favor Josh, but T.O. has his chance to win because T.O. seems. I think he's gonna be on for this fight. T.O. is an emotional fighter. It's like sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. But I think he's gonna be there this time. But I do think that Josh Taylor, is the size that T.O. used to have over his opponents. That's not gonna come in play in this one because Josh is a big boy. Josh is huge from 140. And plus, Josh didn't look too spectacular in his last fight. So I do see it being more closer, but I'm still going to get an edge to Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going with Josh Taylor too. Even though I didn't see T.O. against Sandor Martin, like Val was saying, he questioned himself, and to me that was a highlight. Asking if he still got it. So to me, he was questioning himself, and he didn't seem confident and stuff like that. But like I said, man, he's fighting in his backyard. Josh Taylor's coming from the UK, so to me, I'm expecting the war. T.O., like I said, man, he's got to show up and show out. So, but I'm going for Josh Taylor.
I'm gonna pull up this comment that T.O. made. Did y'all hear the comment that he made about black fighters?
Nah.
Oh no.
All right, so I'm gonna pull this up on old T.O. So T.O. says this right here. This is what my guy Shelton. Okay, Shelton, I got you, and thank you, Shelton, for mentioning that because I just saw the headline. So that's what you get for just reading headlines sometimes, And so I was just looking at that piece. But here, you see that here, it says, I can kill a guy and get away with it. Former super lightweight world champion, Teofimo comes under fire. It says before saying, if ESPN want the black fighters, they can keep them.
Well, it makes sense because this is why that don't make sense. I get it that right now ESPN, well, they only really showcasing a few black fighters, which is what Terrence Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, but Loma is not a black fighter, what I'm saying? And even in the past, before it was only really like Bud Crawford they were really pushing. That was the only black fighter they were pushing. The rest were all like European and Mexican or what have you. So I don't understand. I think that's just him just being emotional, man. He just
what about see you know who he's talking about too. It's Devin.
But Devin is not Devin's an ESPN fighter now, but Devin just got there, really. Just when T.O. got there.
See, now I'm mad. Now, you know what I'm saying? Now, really, let me calm down. Because I hope somebody knocked T.O. ass out. Damn T.O. He's sitting up here. Wow, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, like, it don't make sense, man.
Yeah, it don't make sense. What do you mean that they got
go fight Devin Haney then on ESPN then, if you feel that way.
That don't even make any sense. You know what I'm saying? What do you mean they can push the black fighters? They not really the black fighters that they do have. Those dudes are the type of dudes who get busy, especially Shakur and Devin. You know what I mean? They've been fighting stiff level competition. Devin beat the dude that beat you. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, what are you talking about? And Shakur went over there, beat Oscar Valdez. He collected 2 belts in the lower weight class. He's an Olympian, all of that type of stuff. You know what I mean? He's highly skilled. He's one of the best fighters in the world. Like all of the dudes that they have, it's not like they got some Edgar Berlanga type dudes. You know what I'm saying? Or they got somebody who just is a marketable or whatever.
No, I'm ESPN. I'm cashing them out, man.
These top 10 pound for pound caliber type fighters. So you talking about they can keep the black fighters, dude? They put in the work. You little bum ass. You sitting up here got lucky against Lomachenko, and you think you all this and that. You should have went there and fought Devin Haney and sitting up there trying to duck him. And then when the cherry pick went wrong, you got your butt whooped. You sitting up there with pie in your face, man. Forget Teofimo Lopez, dog. What you think about that, though?
You asking me?
Yeah. What you think about that, Tom?
Man, like I said, I don't really have no comment. Like I said, I didn't know he said that, but you made some good points. ESPN got Shakur, they got Devin. Both guys are good fighters. Like you said, Devin beat Cambosis, flew back over there, beat him again. Shakur just knocked out the I'm not sure what the guy's name was, the undefeated fighter he just fought. And then,
Oh
like you said,
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't catch that fight, but like I said, man, Shakur's doing this thing. Devin Haney's doing this thing. So yeah, I don't know where he's coming from with that comment, man.
He's sitting up here trying to start a race. But I want Taylor to knock him. I just want him to knock him silly, dog. I got Taylor. You know what I'm saying? Like, Taylor, my guy. I wasn't even a Taylor fan. Like, I just want Taylor to go ahead and put some serious work in on that boy. And then hopefully, see, I don't know. Do you think that if he wins this fight that he'll mess around and take the fight against Regis?
Well, if I'm ESPN, if I'm top ranked, I don't give him a choice. I cash him out against Regis Prograis. That's what I do.
That would be beautiful. That'd be a beautiful thing if Regis could go ahead and knock his ass out. Now, this right here, it's like jumping into the frying pan, you know what I'm saying, out of the skillet, you know what I'm saying, with Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor, he seemed like a good guy, but that ain't the guy who I want to really smash T.O. If T.O. is going to fight Regis next, then I want him to win and get his butt whooped by Regis. But if not, then Josh, please do us this favor, man. It's all on you, Josh, man. Anything else on this? Thank you, Sheldon, man. I ain't even know that dude has said that nonsense. Let me go ahead and get back out of here so I can. All right, so let me go to the outside. It's getting late, man. Y'all boys, anytime I'm on here with you fellas, y'all love to talk this boxing, man. Like, God, y'all some boxing.
Yeah, I didn't plan to be here this long, but
yes, yeah, Martin did for real.
He did.
Sandra Martin.
Sandra Martin team. Yep. Didn't get the credit. I think one of those he didn't get the credit for, or was it both of them?
Yeah. Last thing is this, man. We're just gonna go ahead and end on this. I got a couple things that I'm gonna ask you fellas, but we ain't gotta, sit up here that long. Because I've been having, let me go to this right here. You got the fight this weekend, just briefly. Are you familiar with Jaime Arboleda, Ty?
Nah, I'm not too familiar with him, so I can let you cook on that one.
Okay.
I've seen him, yes.
Yeah, Bill, just a real quick, you got the fight coming up this weekend. It's a DAZN fight card. This is the headline match. You got the 135-pound, punching machine, William Zepeda. He's going to be taking up Jaime Arboleda, who's moving up for 130 pounds. Arboleda is somebody that most people probably would know from the Cobra fight, the Chris Cobra fight, in a losing performance, but he did, show a lot of heart and determination. Vale, what's your quick prediction on the fight this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, he did show a lot of heart in that Chris Cobra fight, but at the same time, he made Chris Cobra look like he was Tank Davis, man. And if you doing that to Chris Cobra, and you get in the ring with a William Zepeda who is bigger, strong, heavy hands, it's not gonna be good, man. I think he gonna get Arboleda out of there probably within 7 rounds. Yeah,
you remember you sent that duck season video earlier this week. So I give you a Wu-Tang reference. You got William Zepeda versus Introducer. Man, F that dude name. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you remember that song.
Drop on your head like rain, and when it rains, it pours.
There you go. So saying that to say, shout out to Arboleda, man. He's a cool little guy. He fights his heart out, but he's just not going to have enough against Zepeda, moving up, not being that heavy of a puncher. And he stays there in the pocket. And that's somewhere that you don't want to be against Zepeda. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think it might go to the mid rounds, like the early mid rounds, like the 5th round. So around that time, I expect Zepeda to get him out of there. The only reason I don't have it earlier is Zepeda is a very heavy puncher, precise puncher, but he's not like a one-punch guy. And I think that it may take him some time to go ahead and get some work in. You know what I mean? Might just want to get a little work in. But at the end of the day, once he starts touching Arboleda, it's going to be a wrap. It's going to be curtains. It's going to be a Reynolds. And so I expect Zepeda to get him out of their 5th round TKO victory. Last thing I got for you fellas on the way out is I'm going to get your final thoughts. But if you see the ticker down there, the last thing, because we've been talking about this guy pretty much all show. Where do you rank my main man Tank Davis at 135 and 140. So if you were able to rank him like between 1 through 5, where would he rank in those weight classes? Just off the top of your head.
I do think at 135 right now. You know what? I wouldn't even rank him that low at all. Like, of course, Devin Haney is number one. It's hard to really, in terms of talent, if he won a few more fights, I would put Stevenson up there. But Stevenson hasn't really gotten those fights at 135, even though I think he'll beat pretty much everybody there. So the logical answer, so I'm putting on my thinking cap. I gotta look at the landscape, because when you think about it, all of them pretty much, few of them have fought each other. Like Teo got a loss, but Teo's at 140 now. But you got Devin Haney, you got of course you got Tank, you got Frank Martin, you got William Zepeda. So to be honest, I would have Tank number 2 behind Devin, to be honest. At 140, it's hard. I don't even rank him at 140 yet. Even though Tank won a title, I wouldn't even put him in the top 10. I can't rank him above people who compete there. Like, I can't rank him above, of course, it's Josh Taylor. You know what I'm saying? You got Regis Prograis. Then you got Cibriel Matias. You got Teofimo Lopez. You got what's my man name? Gary Antoine Russell. You got all these guys that would put ahead of Tank because they've done more at 140. Knocking off Mario Barrios doesn't really do it for me, you know. So I do think he's ranked pretty high, 135. But at the end of the day, you could be number 2 at a weight class, but not top 10 in the pound for pound list, because you ain't beat that guy. You haven't beaten that guy.
Yeah, I would say at 135, I got Tank. I would say maybe like number 3 or number 4. Like, we know he hasn't fought the best opposition. We know that much, but I just think he's got all the goods, man. He's to me, like, and I question, like, do some fighters and trainers even study his tape? Because like we can go back to when he fought Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz threw the same 3 punches. Tank, counter with the perfect uppercut, got him out cold. Look at Rolly. Rolly was throwing the same shot. Tank ducked back. He ducked down into the ropes. Bam, caught him with a shot, put Rolly down, 1 punch. Same thing with Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia was throwing the same punch, these big left hooks. Tank duck and dodge, countered it, and caught him with a clean shot. So, like, he's putting all these guys down, with the same tactics, with the same skill set. So to me, he's doing what he needs to do. Like, he's got the timing, he's got the countering, he's got the power, he's got the speed. So I just question, do these trainers, do these fighters even like study his tape? But at 135, man, I got Tank, probably number 3 with all his skill. But like I said, he just hasn't really fought the opposition everybody wanted to see him face. But as far as 140, man,
Hold on, Ty. Let me
right.
Let me get in here with you. So you say 135, you got him 3. So the question I'm gonna ask you is, so who's above him? That's the first question. But let me chime in a little real quick on what you said. Like, some of the guys, because I just, before I forget, it's getting late and stuff like that. Though some of them dudes that he was fighting, I think, to answer your question, or to attempt to answer your question, not that you presented that as a question, was the fact that I think some guys, it was skill that that's how they fight. Like a Rolly, I don't think Rolly is going to be able to box you, and so he's just going to try to get you out of there. And then the other guys, see, here's the thing with Tank. Tank does have issues with volume. Like, when you're punching him, sometimes, because he doesn't punch a lot. If you know how to punch and kind of know when he's going to throw those power shots and kind of like cover up or not allow him to get off his stuff the way he want to get it off, you can be successful, because that volume is going to supersede the shots that he's going to shoot, especially early. And once he starts figuring you out and stuff like that, then you might have a whole nother set of issues. And that's what it seems like it's been so far throughout his career. So that volume, I think, is what a lot of guys see. They're like, oh man, if I could just keep throwing punches at him, then he's going to not be able to get off his stuff because he doesn't throw that much. Ryan, I think what he thought was that he believed in his talent. He was like, Tank has never faced anybody who does what I do. And I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing against my opponents that I've been facing before. But let me see how he responds to that when I'm on the offensive. And that's where he fell in love too early with those little barrages that he was doing. And then he came in there the second round and got clipped. And then later that body shot was just debilitating. I don't know if he could have prepared for that or not. So that's that. But so the question I have, good brother, who do you rank ahead of Tank at 135?
I'll just say, I would say Shakur, not Devin, but Shakur.
Okay.
Yeah, I think even Shakur doesn't have the highest knockout. He stays in front of you. He's real swift with it. You know what I mean? I'll just say Shakur. I can't say Devin because we seen Devin, clipped by Linares. He's doing a little stanky leg at the end of the round. So if Tank landed that, that would be a different story. So, but I would say Shakur.
Okay. All right. And I stopped you when you were saying you're 140.
Yeah, 140, man. Those guys, like you said, Matias, Regis is 140, right?
Yeah, Regis 140.
Yeah, Regis, Matias. I can't see, Tank, going in with those guys. Like I said, if he did fight these 140 guys, he probably gonna have it at a catch weight. You know what I'm saying? So I just can't see Tank going at 140 and taking on those guys. I can see him taking it if it's at a catch weight or something like that, because that's what he's been doing in these last couple of fights. So
yeah, he's in the top 10 because he like the Puello, like he can beat Puello. You know what I'm saying? He can beat Tio. Like some of these other guys, Zepeda be tough, but I just think he'd be kind of ring worn a little bit. But I can't really necessarily say that, like you said, knowing the fact that he's been putting the catch weights on these dudes, and it doesn't seem like the catch weights are going to stop anytime soon now, unless they decide to say, you know what, because these dudes are in that situation where they're not making that type of money. That money, BS walk, that money talk. So he might be able to put a catch weight on them as much, revenue as he's generating. So, but you never know. But head up, no, I couldn't put him in the top 10. As far as 135, honestly, let me go ahead and go to 135. It's almost right. Part of me would have him at 3 or 4. Part of me would, because, and I'll tell you why. Because these guys have done more as far as the level of competition that they face or their eagerness to face top level opposition, but they're in a different situation. They can't rely on having the backing of a Tank and see, some of this I might be hating too. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, I'm gonna give you a quick example. See, I used to hoop. Check this out, right? And so I felt like I could score on anybody. Couldn't get nobody stop me from scoring. But I felt like guys would get better looks from scouts and things like that who could jump. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't my thing. I just could score. You know what I'm saying? But if you just on the outside looking in, you look up, I have a lot of points. But then the other guy who you'll pass to and he dunking on somebody or somebody else who fast as I don't know what, they would get the looks. People would come, oh, you see so-and-so do that? And I'm like, dude, I'm the one that had all the points. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that same way about like the Haneys and some of these other guys. They don't have that power. You know what I'm saying? They not knocking dudes silly. And so to the naked eye, it may not be as pleasing. But when it comes to the skill and what they've done and what they've proven, I could still see at 135 Loma being in front of Tank. I could still see Shakur, or I can see Shakur being above Tank because now he's at 135 and he's already been a 2-time like legitimate world champion. Has had to fight against Valdez, to solidify and how he performed against Valdez, who was probably in the top 10 pound for pound when he whooped him. You know what I'm saying? So, but if it depends on the criteria. So he's somewhere between 2 and 3 to me, because I definitely have to put Devin ahead of him if I'm thinking about a person. How can you have somebody who has all of the belts? You know what I'm saying? Not number one to me. You know what I mean? So that's how that rock and roll. As far as 140, Tank, man, you got them catchweights, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got the catchweights. I can't, I can't honor that. Now, that's it, man. Anything you fellas have in closing, man? That's some good chopping it up sessions right there, you know?
No, we chopped it up, man. Good conversation. Shout out to G5 Jeff popping on in, man. Give us that insight, man. Ty, man, always a pleasure, for you to be chopping it up,
Oh yeah. Ty, you got anything before we wrap it up?
Yeah, saying appreciate coming on, rocking as always, shout out to everybody in the comment section, shout out to G5 coming on as well. And when he was on, man, I wanted to add, I know you brought it up about my interview with Kaufman. I did want to ask him some things about Heyman on camera. I mean, I already knew the answer because we talked about it off camera, but at first he was like, he ain't want to answer the question. But then he was like, you know what, man, I ain't fighting no more. So it is what it is, man. You can ask whatever you want. So like he confirmed, if you say some bad things about Heyman, man, it's not gonna look good for you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so just shout out to him, taking the interview with me and working behind the scenes, trying to do some more. And like I appreciate you, coming on, after the fight with Tank and Ryan, we chopped it up 4 hours strong, man. Definitely a long one. Comment section was popping. Vel was in the comment section. Vel, appreciate you tuning in. Your sister, she tuned in. Appreciate her tuning in. So yeah, appreciate all the love, man. Like we gonna keep doing this, man. Keep doing our passion, chop up the spots and talk, man.
Yeah, man, we're gonna keep it rocking like a cutoff stocking. But let me go ahead and shout out some of these people that was in the chat. As always, Shelton, shout out to you. Shout out to G5 was up in there. Anybody that I'm missing? I know that on here we got Sunshine was in the comment section. But one thing, Sunshine, I don't know if you bet, but I'll take that bet right there. Arboleta by decision. And I'll put the house on that one. So, but shout out to you. Anybody else it was some other people up there that I forgot that's in the chat. Can y'all see?
I know. I think Gabe Ruiz.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. Shane Solis, yeah, salute to him. Gabriel Ruiz, salute to him. And I want to add, man, prayers out for Sunshine. She's going through cancer, so and she still tunes in. I talk with her, all the time. She's helped me get some interviews. Shout out to her. She's doing all this. She's battling cancer, so prayers out to Sunshine, man. She go through.
Yeah, yes, we'll be praying for you.
We're definitely praying for you, Sunshine. But I want that bet, Arboleta. I can't see Arboleta winning that fight, Sunshine. But yeah, man, good chop it up session. Ty Finney, make sure you subscribe to that man's channel. Do a lot of good work over there with those interviews. He does the fights like he does the fights. You know what I mean? As the big fights are on, he's actually covering the fights and doing a really good job with that. Just so much on that channel. I'm not giving it its justice. And then also subscribe to us, man. If you're still there, go ahead and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And then I think that's it, man. Appreciate you fellas. On that note, we out. Peace.
Peace.
Boom.